Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Continuing in Volume 2 of Riyad as-Saliheen, book number 17, the book of the prohibited action. Narrated Sumura bin Jundub radiyallahu anhu that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam very often used to ask his companion, "Has any one of you seen a dream?" So dreams would be narrated to him by those whom Allah willed to relate. One day he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Last night I had a vision in which two men came to me and woke me up and said to me, 'Proceed.' I set out with them, and we came across a man lying down, and behold, another man was standing over his head, holding a big rock. Behold, he was throwing the rock at the man's head, smashing it. When he struck him, the stone rolled away, and he went after it to get it. And no sooner had he returned to this man, his head was healed and restored to its former condition. The thrower of the rock then did the same as he had done before. I said to my two companions, 'Subhanallah, who are these?' They said, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded and came to a man lying in a prone position, and another man standing over his head with an iron hook. And behold, he would put the hook in one side of the man's mouth and tear off that side of his face to the back of the neck, and similarly tear his nose from front to back, and his eyes from front to back. Then he turned to the other side of the man's face and did just as he had done with the first side. He had hardly completed that second side when the first returned to its normal state. I said to my two companions, 'Subhanallah, who are these?' They said, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded and came across something like a tanur, a kind of baking oven, a pit usually clay-lined for baking bread. I, the narrator, think the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, 'In that oven there was much noise and voices.' The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam added, 'We looked into it and found naked men and women, and behold, a flame of fire was reaching to them from underneath. And when it reached them, they cried loudly. I asked, "Who are these?" They said to me, "Proceed, proceed." And so we proceeded and came across a river. I, the narrator, think he said, "red like blood." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam added, "And behold, in the river there was a man swimming, and on the bank there was a man who had collected many stones. Behold, while the other man was swimming, he went near him. The former opened his mouth, and the latter on the bank threw a stone into his mouth, whereupon he went swimming again. Then again he, the former, returned to him, the latter, and every time the former returned, he opened his mouth, and the latter threw a stone into his mouth," and so on. The performance was repeated. I asked my two companions, "Who are these?" They replied, "Proceed, proceed." And we proceeded till we came to a man with a repulsive appearance, the most repulsive appearance you ever saw a man having. Beside him there was a fire, and he was kindling it and running around it. I asked my two companions, "Who is this man?" They said to me, "Proceed, proceed." So we proceeded till we reached a garden of deep green, dense vegetation, having all sorts of spring colors. In the midst of the garden there was a very tall man, and I could hardly see his head because of his great height. And around him there were children in such a large number as I had never seen. I said to my two companions, "Who is this?" They replied, "Proceed, so proceed." So we proceeded till we came to a majestic, huge garden, greater and better than any garden I have ever seen. My two companions said to me, "Ascend up," and I ascended up. The Prophet ﷺ added, "So we ascended till we reached a city built of gold and silver bricks, and we went to its gate and asked the gatekeeper to open the gate, and it was opened. And we entered the city and found in it men with one side of their bodies as handsome as the most handsome person you have ever seen, and the other side as ugly as the ugliest person you have ever seen. My two companions ordered those men to throw themselves into the river. Behold, there was a river flowing across the city, and its water was like milk in whiteness. Those men went and threw themselves in it, and then returned to us after the ugliness of their bodies had disappeared, and they came in the best shape." The Prophet ﷺ further added, "My two companions said to me, 'This place is Adn, paradise, and this is your place.' I raised up my sight, and behold, there I saw a palace like a white cloud. My two companions said to me, 'That palace is your place.' I said to them, 'May Allah bless you both. Let me enter it.' They replied, 'As for now, you will not enter it, but you shall enter it one day.' I said to them, 'I have seen many wonders tonight. What does all that mean which I have seen?' They replied, 'We will inform you. As for the first man you came upon, whose head was being smashed with a rock, he is the symbol of the one who studies the Quran and then neither recites it nor acts on its orders, and sleeps, neglecting the enjoined prayers. As for the man who you came upon, whose side of mouth, nostrils, and eyes were torn off from the front to the back, he is the symbol of the man who goes out of his house in the morning and tells lies that are spread all over the world. And those naked men and women whom you saw in a construction resembling an oven, they are the adulterers and the adulteresses. And the man who was given a stone to swallow is the eater of riba, usury. And that bad-looking man whom you saw near the fire, kindling it and going around it, is Malik, the gatekeeper of hell. And the tall man you saw in the garden is Prophet Ibrahim, alayhi salam, and the children around him are those who died before Al-Fitra, the Islamic faith of monotheism. The narrator added, some Muslims asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "O Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what about the children of al-mushrikun, i.e. the polytheists, the pagans, idolaters, and disbelievers in the oneness of Allah and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, "And also the children of al-mushrikun." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam added, "My two companions added, the men you saw half handsome and half ugly were these people who had mixed an act that was good with another that was bad, but Allah forgave them." Another narration of Al-Bukhari is Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said,
Is sufficient. You can go to the commentary now.
This hadith has the following points. 1. Manifestation through dream of punishment of various evil, i.e. forgetting the Quran after having memorized it, not practicing the teachings of the Quran, violating the precepts of the Quran after attaining their knowledge, slackness in offering obligatory salah, lying, immoral acts, usury, etc. Strict warnings have been issued against all these evils, and the punishment to which they are liable have been mentioned in this hadith. May Allah save us from them. This hadith also mentions the unique status of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the distinguished place of martyrs. We also learn from this hadith that Allah has made hell for punishment and paradise for reward. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last prophet of Allah, was made to witness many scenes which demonstrated the retribution and reward of deeds done by people in their earthly life. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Jazakallah.